Hello, welcome back to the Bald Book Geek. I'm the host, I'm William James. Hello. So, first things first. Fable. New Fable game has been announced, and I have very mixed feelings on the aesthetics. Now, this is the thing. Fable has always looked a certain way. It has always had a very specific style, and I think number one especially is prime example of that style. The original Fable is a classic, and it's a good-looking classic. The characters, some of them are attractive, some of them are unattractive. The stylized world fits, and that kind of look continued into Fable 2. I don't think Fable 2 is as strong as Fable 1, although I still enjoyed it, and I don't rate the third game at all. But the game, it has a look. So apparently this is just called Fable, and it kind of makes a very weird look, I think aesthetically speaking. Keeping that stylized look, keeping that overall feel of the games, I think works really well. And keeping that in. I mean, the original game holds up extremely well. So the original game was in development for the Dreamcast, ironically, but then shifted to the Xbox after the Dreamcast was discontinued. And it's kind of it's got a long production series. It started way back in 2001, so it gives you an idea of how long ago it was. And it had this really beautiful, hyper-stylized aesthetic, and that continued into Fable 2. And Fable 3, despite its flaws, it did continue into Fable 3. I highly recommend the Fable Anniversary. It works on Xbox One. It's an Xbox 360 game, but it works on Xbox One and subsequent consoles. Now, the character design of this is strange. The new game, that is. Because it's hyper-realistic. And aesthetically, I don't think that's what people were expecting. Especially in terms of Fable, because it's such a stylized look. It has such a specific look. This does not look like Fable. If anything, this looks more like the Witcher game. And I feel like, I don't know, there's a lot of things they could have done with this that would have been more aesthetically pleasing. And it doesn't matter if a character is ugly. It doesn't matter if a character is attractive. What matters is the style, the aesthetics. And the trailer does look really good. I want to say that, but I find the style and the graphical style just jarring compared to the previous ones. I was expecting something that looked like Fable, and this kind of doesn't at the moment, which is strange. And people have pointed that out. It kind of has a generic medieval fantasy look, and is missing that charm of the game, which is kind of sad, really, when you think about it. It's what's the word I'm looking for, because it's very difficult to quantify. Just go back, look at videos if you've not played the originals of the first Fable entries. Look at that style, look at the aesthetic, look at that slightly cartoonish, heavily stylized fantasy that worked so well. And they're such pretty games, and like I said, the original, it looks amazing. Even today, it still looks good, and it's aged very well, considering it's a 20-year-old game. Now, I'm looking forward to Fable. More Fable is a good thing, but I'm hoping there's some shell shading or something done to this, just to give it a more Fable look. And that's ultimately what I'm thinking. Now we have the answer for some of the game design. There is a games designer involved who has created a very obvious insert character. Like the trailer, the character looks like them. It's a bizarre thing. It's obviously a self-insert, and you can definitely see that character. And there's nothing against Chris, but self-insertion is a very lazy design trick that you have to avoid. It's lazy during writing, and as you can see, and there's nothing against this person, but it answers a few questions. But self-inserting your own face into a game is lazy. It may not be true at this point, but we'll see what happens. And now we have a situation where Twitter has erupted. So I criticised the game design. I just said it looks ugly. And I'm going to clarify my points here, is that what I was saying was the aesthetics are ugly. I wasn't talking about the character. Well, the character design's ugly, but that's part of Fable. And then this person came in and called me ugly, as you can see, which is a low blow, especially coming from someone with an anime avatar as a picture. And then proceeded to cry victim when she was called out for being a shitty human being. It's funny that, but I wasn't talking about gender of the character. I would have said the character design was ugly, whether it was male or female. It's very simple. I would have said that, whatever. That sort of hyper-realistic. Maybe I could have articulated my words a little better. But that hyper-realistic look is just weird, and ultimately it's not looking like Fable yet. Maybe it's unfinished, maybe it's an unfinished product and we're not seeing the final design, and I'm hoping what we're seeing is a lot of it's test footage, because that's a thing that happens in video games. A lot of that isn't game footage, it's FMV, and that will change with time, and it usually does. So, no hate towards Sarah here, but maybe read the room and don't cry victim if you call someone ugly. It's not difficult, especially since your face isn't on the internet.